Welcome back to Zine Junkies, to mechanical engineering made simple. If the podcast brings you value, help support the show with a like, a follow, or leave a comment below. Today, we're setting up the workbench for an absolute masterclass on structural mechanics. We're going to strip away all the confusion surrounding bending moments and shearing forces. Step by step, we'll build your engineering intuition, starting from the most foundational internal forces and working our way up to complex support structures. So, grab your mental hard hats. Here's our syllabus for today's walkthrough. Section 1, Forces of Structural Statics. Section 2, the Cantilever Walkthrough. Section 3, Connecting Load, Shear, and Moment. Section 4, Simply Supported Beam Mechanics. And finally, Section 5, Points of Inflection. Let's dive right in. Section 1, Forces of Structural Statics. Before we draw any diagrams or crunch any math, let's get into the reality of what actually happens when physical loads hit physical structures. To anchor this to reality, ask yourself this: what keeps a loaded beam in equilibrium? When an external lateral force, like a really heavy piece of machinery or immense wind pressure, hits a beam, why doesn't that beam just spin infinitely into space or instantly snap in half? Well, it's because the beam fights back. Internal loading actions push and twist back against the load to maintain balance. And those internal actions, they have names. When a bar carries lateral forces, two incredibly important types of loading actions set up shop inside the material. First, you've got a shearing force. That's the internal upward or downward vertical force required to balance out the external load. Second, you have a bending moment. This is the internal rotational couple that resists the bending motion. Together, they are literally what keeps the whole structure from failing. Let's think about a super familiar, real-world example. Imagine you're holding a horizontal fishing rod tightly at one end. The end in your hand is embedded, it's fixed rigidly. Now a fish pulls down on the remote free end, applying a lateral force. Mentally slice that rod in half for a second. For the rod not to break, the embedded half has to apply an upward shearing force to counteract the fish pulling down, while simultaneously applying a rotational bending moment to stop the rod from just swiveling down. It's those equal and opposite reactions inside the material that keep the whole system in statical equilibrium. Now, before we start calculating stresses, we have to establish the rules of the road. Master these sign conventions because they dictate everything we're about to do. First, downward vertical loads are considered positive. Second, bending moments that make the beam concave on top, which we casually call sagging bending moments, are positive. And finally, shearing forces that tend to rotate an element clockwise are positive. Memorize these, because they'll keep your math honest. Section 2, the cantilever walkthrough. We are taking those foundational definitions and applying them directly to one of the most common setups in engineering, the cantilever, which is just a beam supported at one end only. What's visually striking here is the massive difference between load types. If you have a concentrated point load, like a single heavy weight dangling off the edge of your beam, you get a constant shearing force across the entire beam and a linear bending moment. But in practice, loads are usually distributed, right? Like wind on a building. When a cantilever carries a uniformly distributed load, the shearing force doesn't stay constant anymore. It varies linearly. And because the shear varies linearly, the bending moment changes parabolically. The physical nature of the load completely rewrites the shape of the internal stress. Section 3, Connecting Load, Shear, and Moment. We are answering one of the most popular questions engineering students ask online. How do these diagrams actually relate to one another? Because they aren't isolated at all. They are intimately linked by a golden thread of calculus. To find this link, engineers pull a really clever trick. We mathematically slice out an infinitesimally small length of the loaded beam, just a microscopic sliver. By looking at just this tiny element, we can derive the exact balance between the intensity of the external load pushing down on it and the changes in internal shear and moment on either side of the slice. And through the rotational and vertical equilibrium of that tiny slice, we arrive at these absolute foundational truths. First, the derivative of the shearing force, F, with respect to distance z, equals the negative intensity of the load, W. Second, the derivative of the bending moment, M, with respect to distance z, equals the shearing force, F. Meaning, the slope of your shear diagram is your load, and the slope of your moment diagram is your shear. It is a beautiful, cascading relationship. And because of that derivative relationship, we get this incredibly powerful rule for integration. The increase of bending moment between any 2 points on a beam is simply the area below the shearing force curve for that exact same length. So if you're dealing with an irregularly distributed real-world load, no sweat. If you can find the area under the shear graph, you can find your exact bending moment. Section 4. Simply supported beam mechanics. Let's step it up and apply this to more complex mechanics. By simply supported, we mean the beam rests on supports like knife edges or frictionless pins. These hold the beam up, sure, but they don't apply any resistance to the bending itself. When you were tasked with solving a simply supported beam problem, you just follow this highly repeatable 3-step engineering walkthrough. Step 1. Use statical equilibrium to calculate the vertical reactions at your supports. Step 2. Use those reactions and your external loads to determine the shearing forces across the length of the beam. Step 3. Integrate those shearing forces by finding the area under the curve to calculate your bending moments. Master this process and you can solve almost any basic beam out there. Visually, for a simply supported beam carrying a uniformly distributed load, it plays out perfectly. Because the load is uniform, the upward reactions at the two supports are equal. Our shearing force starts positive at one support, drops linearly due to the constant downward load, and crosses exactly through zero right at the center of the beam before going negative. And because it crosses zero at the exact center, our integrated bending moment forms a perfect, flawless parabola, peaking right in the middle. Now, from our calculus rules earlier, we know the bending moment has a mathematical maximum exactly where the shearing force is zero. For a simply supported beam with a uniform load, that maximum bending moment equals W times L squared, all divided by 8. This single equation is absolutely crucial. It's one of the best tools in any structural designer's back pocket. Section 5, Points of Inflection. Transitioning to our final critical phenomenon. We've talked about maximum moments, but what happens when the bending forces are heavily manipulated, causing those moments to flip directions entirely? Sometimes a simply supported beam isn't just carrying downward weight. It might also have rotational couples applied to its ends in opposing directions. When this happens, the bending moment diagram doesn't just form a simple sagging parabola anymore. The moment curve is literally forced to cross the zero axis. It'll start negative, swing up into positive territory, and then dive negative again. And the exact spots where that curve crosses the zero axis, those are called points of inflection, or points of contraflexure. This is the exact physical location where the bending moment is literally zero. Consequently, this is where the physical curvature of the deformed beam changes sign, flipping from convex to concave. Identifying these points is paramount because it dictates exactly where tension and compression swap sides inside the material of your beam. Next time you cross a bridge or stand in a skyscraper, just think about those invisible shears and moments fighting to keep you safe. Remember, design junkies, master the critical few or the trivial many will master you. If you're leaving this episode with something you didn't arrive with, drop a comment. Takes you a few seconds, but it tells me this workbench is worth keeping open.